A friend of mine reached out to me a few months back and told me that he has a car that he wants brought back to life that's been sitting for a number of years. And I am really, really excited about this particular project and have been looking forward to it for a while. Stay tuned. We're going to go check out this cool car. Okay, we are here. He's already got the car prepped up in the garage for me. Here's a little Monte Carlo. Said he parked it 14 years ago because he lost the brakes. So, ordinarily, I think I'd worry about trying to make the car run before I did anything, but being as how the end goal here is that this car runs and drives, stops, and steers on its own. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with what we know is wrong with the car, and we're going to fix the brakes. So first things first, we got to get it jacked up, get it on stands, get the tires and wheels knocked off of it. He's already in here working on it a little bit. So let's get cracking here. That'll do. Yeah, that'll work perfect. Yeah, next step, get those wheel covers aren't bolted on, are they?
Nope. Everything what?
Find the screwdriver here. Did I? Yep, there it is. Neat. The wheel's purple. Now, if this car is new enough, these should be metric wheel nuts. Yep. Wide track radial SRs. I haven't seen those in forever. Matter of fact, I think these are what I had on my Monte Carlo. I'll have to go back and look at that picture again. I'm pretty sure it was because Farm and Fleet used to sell those.
Yep, that's where I got it.
Rolling up under this thing. right up there where the proportioning valve is at. The lines are pretty crusty right there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of brake fluid in this thing and see where, see where she's leaking from. Just don't want to put too much in it because then I just end up making a mess. But and get some penetrating oil on those brake bleeders as well. And pray that we can get those loose if this does go well. Yeah, good luck is right. But I mean, it's got a lot of scale on it and whatnot, but the rear brake lines don't look that bad. The ones across the axle themselves are a little suspect, but let's throw a little juice in this thing and see what happens. Yeah, halfway decent look inside of here. Yeah, that brake hose is definitely going to probably be an issue. The lines coming down from the master cylinder don't look all that bad. But I'm not seeing any breaks in the line anywhere. I'll go over and take a look at the passenger side. Being as how that happened so many years ago, it could just have dried up over the years and just not be visible anymore. Spark plugs would be easy to change.
Spark plugs?
Yeah, you can see all four of them right there. You don't get that in today's cars.
Always contacted in there.
All right, a little fluid in there. Just pedal a pump or two and see what happens.
Not gripping on the floor yet.
Not building pressure yet either. The master cylinder feels smooth.
Unless you stick a sweet time jerking down, no?
You know, I almost can't help but wonder if maybe I shouldn't pop the lines off of this and run a couple of lines up into the master cylinder and just bench bleed that master before we even get started on the rest of it. There's some bubbles in there. It's doing something. The level didn't drop, so it's not pushing it. Oh, there it goes.
I just saw something squirt up.
Yep.
Something squirting out.
Yep, I saw it. Yeah, what did I do with the light? There we are.
Now you pump it so you can see.
Yeah, go ahead and push that down a time or two. And well, I sure hope it didn't pop at the proportioning valve. That's a tough spot to get to. Okay, got it. It is down there on the frame. Right, yeah, the front lines. Okay, so all right. At this point, I don't see any need to really diagnose it. And it, yeah, right here. It broke right there at the clamp that holds it to the frame. There's a little clamp right here that holds it to the frame. It's rotted out right there. And it is the one that goes over to the right front wheel. So I'm not going to I'm not going to monkey with this. I'm just going to replace these lines and call it. There's no sense in trying to save any of it, because if I repair this line and don't repair the other line, as soon as we start building pressure in it, it's just going to bust. And we'll be right back here again doing the same thing again and again and again.
Are we going to place the ones to the rear too?
It looks, honestly, it looks like it's been replaced at some point in time. There is a union right here that I could break the line right here and then make a new line to the back. And I do not like the way the axle lines look, so they should probably go. Now, I don't know what you have for brake line, Jeff, but the line that runs down the frame of the car is 1/4 inch and the rest are 3/16. You have, okay, great. Oh, that uncomplicates things. The only unforeseen that I'm seeing right now that I didn't think about are the nut fittings.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty rusty. If they're clean on the inside and can be cleaned up, and the hex part of them isn't all tore up and I can actually get them tight, they'll probably be okay. So
I'll make a run for you.
I'm just going to go ahead and start cutting line and get these replaced. Now, I'm not going to bore you guys with all the gory details of doing this, so I'm just going to shut it off and get these lines replaced in the front. And then once we've got the brakes working again, we'll reconvene. Okay, I lied. I am going to bore you with some of the gory details. The line broke right here where this clamp holds it to the frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut the line right here and pull these nuts out of here and see if I can save these. Just make a new line, run it across the car, back over here to the other side where it attaches to the soft line on the other side of the frame. I'm going to replace both of these lines in the front, and I'm going to replace the rear line from there to the axle, and then I'm going to replace the 2 axle lines and just be done with it and not have to fart around too much with worrying about whether or not the brakes are going to stay reliable on this thing. So he does plan on driving it, and I plan on him being able to do it safely. So let's get cracking here. Get these bolts here out of the frame that hold these clamps down. There's 3 or 4 of these. There's one of them right over here, where that line cracked that I showed you a minute ago, but I don't think I'm going to take that off. I think I'm just going to lay the line over top of that, because it also holds down what I believe is the vapor return line from the fuel tank, and I don't want to mess with that and end up breaking it and causing more problems than I already have. And then this guy right here, I'm just going to cut that line right there, put a socket over that, and I'll clean these up, and I'll use those when I build my new brake lines. Oh, this one's not going to be too terrible bad, I guess. All right, got the lines off. This one here, this is where it was broken in the frame right here. I wasn't able to get it out in one piece. Just wasn't in the cards. So just going to kind of roughly measure this out, maybe go a little bit longer than I thought it should be, place it through the frame. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this copper nickel line here to make the new brake lines. It's much easier to work with than the old steel lines, and it actually holds more line pressure than that stuff does. So you get this thing built up here and flare up some new lines and pull her down. This line for the passenger side, I probably cut it entirely too long, but the line to come off of it in several pieces, so it's going to be hard to measure off of it, so I'll just cut it too long and flare one end of it, put it in, mold it around, and cut it to the length that I need. Bring it back up here and flare the other end of it. so bad. That looks pretty good. Not bad at all. Morning. Day 2 of the Monte Carlo revival. Had to break it off a little earlier than I wanted to. Not in time, but in project. There were some parts that they didn't have in stock that needed to be ordered that won't be in until later on today, so I caught it, wrapped it up early yesterday. Took the rotors and drums in and had them machined to just knock the dust off of them. And old Mike over there at O'Reilly Auto Parts here in Princeton, Illinois, he just did an absolutely fantastic job of cutting those rotors down for me. It's just a perfect surface. Big shout out to Mike for that. I sure appreciate your service and your help. If you ever need anything, O'Reilly in Princeton's a place to go. Don't go anywhere else. But we're going to get rolling here in a few minutes. This morning I'm going to go over, I'm going to drop those off with the car. I still had to order some parts, the brake pads. They didn't have in stock, and the brake calipers ended up being suspect, so we just decided to condemn those. So we're going to put brake calipers on it this morning, or rather this afternoon when they show up. But I've got some things I want to do to it, and I want to go over there, and while I'm waiting for these parts, I have a new battery for the car, I got tune-up parts, I've got all that stuff. So I'm going to go over there and see if I can get this car to run. I don't think that I'm going to have trouble getting the engine to run, but you never know. The car's been sitting for 14 years, so let's get after that and see if we can make this thing at least bark off today. Brought a little help with me this morning. It's my boy Tom. While we're waiting for parts to be delivered later on this afternoon, we're going to go ahead and spend a little time trying to see if we can get this thing to bark off. Now, like I said, I don't know if this thing will run or not. It's got a new battery in it, but it's not hooked up. So I think we'll first make sure this thing got a little bit of oil in it. Yeah, it's full. Doesn't stink. So that'll be perfect for keeping it lubricated while we figure out whether or not it's going to do engine things. Take this off of here. Get this out of the way. All right. I'm just going to kind of stand that up out of the way because it's got vacuum lines on it that I don't want to disturb. Excuse me, buddy. And make sure the throttle's not. Yeah, throttle linkage is a little sticky. It's hanging open. So let's get that lubricated a little bit. Come on now. There we go. Lots and lots of like varnish on the outside of it. Oh, that's funny. I can hear the accelerator pump squirting. That means this thing's got fuel in it. Tom, will you grab me that block right there, please?
The center one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got this thing jacked up just high enough that
I might have to go around
my
the other
stumpy
side to get it.
can't get it. I'll grab it.
Can you?
This throttle linkage working here. It's still a little sticky, but it's coming back around. All right. let's get the battery hooked up and crank it over and see what happens. Okay, there's, and the bolt is missing for the positive cable.
That's probably not good.
Yeah, it's around here somewhere. It was here yesterday.
This
No.
looked like a
Those are
bolt,
for the
so I
brakes. That's
grabbed
all right.
it.
We'll find it. It's around. If not, we'll make something. Jeff may have picked it up and put it on his bench or something yesterday. I didn't see it.
Probably.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
You're not dying on me, are you? All right, I don't know where that battery bolt went. All right. Well, after a long, arduous search, we found something that we could bolt this battery to the car with. Get those snug down. All right. All right. Battery's hooked up. I'm not smelling or hearing wire sizzling or anything, so. What are the chances that this thing's just going to start, Tom?
I think they're low. Well, I think they're medium, 50-50.
Gas gauge is reading 3/4 of a tank of gas. Buzzer works. I can hear the blower motor running. Well, let's see what happens. Fire in the hole. Get out. It's just going to bark right off. Nifty. So it's just going to start and run. Look at that.
Awesome! Dude,
No valve train noise or anything. That just goes to show that you can't kill a small block Chevy, my man.
I can't hear you.
I said it just goes to show that you can't kill a small block Chevy.
Yep. It looks more of a big block than small.
Look at that. It's just going to sit here and run. That is amazing. Idling a little rough. I got a little misfire. But I'm not going to complain about that considering it just fired right off. So, alright. Well, shut it off. Shut it off.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I would say. That is absolutely fantastic news.
Yeah, and how did you do like the room?
Just operated the throttle.
Oh. Don't you do that with like the superchargers that stick out the hood sometimes? They have that little notch.
Yeah. So, well, I'm kind of flabbergasted. I didn't think this thing was just going to pop right off like that. So, that is fantastic news. So what we're going to do now is we'll just tune this thing up, put new plugs and wires and cap and rotor on it, change the oil, top up the coolant and everything,
All right.
and see if we can make this thing make the right noises.
Yep.
It's pretty exciting. That's just exciting.
What year is this?
1980.
Been alive for what? 44 years?
Yeah.
44th annual car show.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's head to the car show and we'll come back in a couple hours and we'll give this thing a proper tune up, and maybe by then all the brake parts will be in and we can just stay busy on it. What do you say?
All right.
Sound good?
Yep.
All right. Well, we got some easy access to wheel and everything off this thing. I'm going to go ahead and replace the spark plugs, since they're easy enough to get to from down below here. Just do them one at a time because I got nothing better to do. Put some extensions in here. Nice long reach. Or maybe not. Shortened up a little bit here and there. There we go. Oof. This thing was running nice and rich. Bosch Super. Get rid of those. Get them out of there. Get some AC Delcos put back in here like it should have. Go ahead and get these spark plugs replaced. Have that out of the way, and then when I get the car back down on the ground, all I got to do is put these spark wires on it. Right now I've got it high enough in the air that I can't reach. So, do what I can while I can, while I'm waiting on all these brake parts to show up. Got all the brake lines replaced in the car. I'm going to wait until I have everything back to worry about fluid and bleeding it and all that jazz. There you go. Spark plug wires are dry and crusty. knocked myself out on that one. Wow. Yeah, this car needed a tune-up when it was parked. There we go. I can already tell you just from looking at the 2 spark plugs I pulled out of it, this thing's going to run a million times better when we're done here. It ran decent, but we're going to make her run good. Let's see what that one looks like. Yeah, that one's not as bad as the rest of them. Running rich, though. A lot of black carbon on there. There's the man himself.
Oh, going after the...
Yeah, get the spark plugs out of the way while I can. And judging from the looks of the spark plugs I'm taking out of it, this thing needed to tune up when it was parked. That one don't look so bad. I did break that spark plug on the way out, though. Let's hope I can avoid doing that on the way back in. That water pump's leaking like a sieve now. Look at that.
Is it?
Yeah. Apparently Tom saw it too, because there's little monster truck tracks running through it.
Yep, I see that. Where'd he go?
Mom just came and picked him up a few minutes ago. Open house at that teen center that he wants to go check out. He was starting to get pretty bored anyway, so. Well, about 30 seconds into getting here, he was bored.
That's the way these kids are.
Well, for some reason or other, he had it in his head that what we were doing was making an old car go fast. He didn't really, you know, have a full grip of. We were just trying to make an old car go. Period. He questioned me about it a little bit last night when we were going home. He says, "I thought we were restoring a car and making it go fast." Well, I was like, we might do that someday, but first we have to worry about making it run. Okay. All right, get the spark plugs in this side. Evening, welcome back. I get started here. It's technically day 3 on this thing. It's my 3rd time back here. Gonna do a little bit of work on it. I don't know how much I'm going to get done, but we're going to give it the old college try and try to get something accomplished on this. Now, what I haven't done yet is I haven't actually walked around this car and shown you guys what's going on with it. So let's do that real quick. Again, 80 Monte Carlo. But, I mean, look at this thing. It is absolutely just beautiful. No rot in there. Lower quarters, got a little surface bubble right here, but the quarters are in real good shape. It does have a little bit of something going on here in the rear frame rails, but these cars are notorious for that. But the trim is in decent condition. The lights are in great shape. There's a nice shine on the paint. Showing its age right here a little bit, but I mean, and the floors look really good in it too. A little bit of surface rust there, but I mean, this car is in absolutely beautiful condition. Now, it's just a, you know, I guess what would have been a run-of-the-mill Monte Carlo. It's showing 126,000 miles on the clock. Look at the original AM, FM in it. The dash is absolutely pristine in this thing, except for one little crack up there by the speaker. But look at the seat. They just don't get any better than this. The headliner is missing out of it. It must have fallen down. They just took the whole thing out rather than saving the board. But that's okay. Those can be replaced. But all in all, this is an absolutely beautiful car. Paint showing its age up here on the hood a little bit, but typical of a GM or GM cars of that era. Someone has put the chrome go fasters on it. It's a 305 with Rochester Quadrajet in it. Done a little bit of work to it over the years, but not bad. Well, what we're going to do today is we're going to put these brakes back together. You get this all put back together, get the pads and calipers and stuff put on it, and then we're going to do the rear shoes tonight. And then when I get someone to come over and give me a hand, we'll get them all bled out. So let me get this thing all put together here and get things started. All right. I greased the bearings the other day before I took off. So all I got to do is just knock the grease seals into the back of the rotors, put everything together. No. Nice snug fit there. Just a little bit of grease around that race there. Just smooch that around. Slide new bearing in there. Well, not new bearing. Freshly greased bearing. The washer slid in there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to spin that a little bit. Just like so. And then we're going to set the preload on that. Yeah, as soon as I find the wrench that I need. You know, because I always come prepared for everything. Oh. There. Snugged it up pretty good. Give that a good spin to make sure everything's where we're supposed to be. You know, back that up just a little bit. And boom, preload is set on that. Yeah. Put your pin back in if it wants to go. Can get a little knurled up on the end here from being bent when they're installed, and then they don't cooperate like you want them to going back in. And bend one leg of it up like this. Bend the other leg down like that. Tap your grease cap on like that, and boom, your rotor is installed. Yep, the steering wheel's locked, so I gotta go turn the key on so I can turn that wheel. There we go. That'll make setting that caliper in there just a little bit easier. Yeah, gotta pull the slide pins out of these. There's a ratchet at. There it is. Not sure what I was thinking. They're thinking that those were threaded in there. They thread into the steering knuckle. And pop brake pads in there like so. There we go. And get her rolled over here. Nice. So far, so good. This car's cooperated pretty well. They come apart really nicely. And hasn't really fought too hard yet. And then put a hot battery in it, pumped the gas pedal a couple times, and it started like it was shut off yesterday. And one thing I did notice is there's some coolant on the floor here, and I looked underneath it, and you know, not surprisingly, the water pump is leaking, so we're gonna have to address that too. All right. Get this brake hose put back on. That's way too big. This. You don't want to kill these too much. You just want to give them enough pressure that squeezes those brass crush washers down. enough that they don't leak. But that's all there is to it. Freshly cleaned up rotor, brand new caliper, new pads. And go over and do the other side, and then we'll move on to the rear. Now getting around here to the back brakes. Obviously they're drum brakes and very, very old and very, very wore out. So drum brakes have become something of a lost art. I know some mechanics who work on cars for a living who can't do rear brakes or can't do drum brakes on an old car like this because they just, they haven't done them in forever, never done them at all, and struggle with them. They're not that bad if you pay attention to what you're doing. And they make specialty tools for doing this, but we're going to do it with a pair of vice grips, a screwdriver, a pair of pliers. Let's see how our luck goes here. These springs are pretty strong. And you can punch yourself in the mouth if you're not careful. Most important thing is just pay attention to where the springs came from and put the new ones back where you got them. This is where the screwdriver comes in handy. I think it was pretty stuck together. Open that spring up just a little bit here. There we go. Get a nice bite on it. Pull it over. Pull it off. And what I like to do is I'll take the springs that come from the back and put them on the back side of the axle. Take the front springs, put them in the front. That way I'm going back together. If for some reason or other I get lost, I know which side they came from at least. Most importantly is do them one side at a time. That way if you do get lost, you can use the other side as a reference. It'll save you a big headache in the long run. Wheel cylinders out of here. Old nasty rusty wheel cylinders. I'm gonna replace them with these nice shiny new units here. Now, these things can be kind of a bear to replace in these old G bodies because they're not bolted to the backing plate like most of them are. They use this silly little ring that this slides into the hole here, and then this comes in on this side, and locks it into place. Nothing like a little asbestos for dinner. All right, now there's a little clip weaseled in here. Well, those rear brakes fought me tooth and nail. Rusty dogs. But ended up, we won. The brakes all done on it. Got everything put back together. And I just got to sweep up my mess. I'm going to go home for the night. And we'll be back in a day or two to work on it some more. Hopefully when I come back next time, we'll get the brakes bled, get it on the ground, and start working on making this thing run like it's supposed to. All right, we're going to close her up for the evening. Until next time. Got the old girl back down on the ground. Brakes are done. Got a great pedal. Jeff got some new to him tires and wheels. Some old Corvette rallies that he has decided to paint the body color. I think it'll look pretty nice. Tonight we're going to work on the engine. Now I'm not going to bother starting this thing up because I know the water pump is leaking. So I'm just going to attack that before I do anything trying to get the car running because it's just going to dump all the coolant on the ground anyway. So no point in even doing that until the water pump is replaced. Now this car has actually got a pretty cool story behind it. This car was bought brand new in 1980 by Jeff's grandfather. He drove it for a number of years until he just couldn't drive anymore, and they parked the car up and it sat for several years. And Jeff approached him one day and asked him what he was planning on doing with it. And the old timer sold him, give me $100 for the car. That way I can tell the family you bought it. You can have it. Jeff drove it for a number of years after that. Young cat. No money. Didn't really know how to fix it, and it lost its brakes. So he parked it. And it sat in a corn crib for a little while, and then when he bought this house here that he lives in now, he parked it over there in that corner of the garage, and it's been sitting there for 14 years. He's super excited to get this car up and running. His mother is super, super stoked to get her dad's car up and going again, so I am super excited to be a part of it and to be able to get this car up and running for these folks and see them get to enjoy this car again. Let's get started here. First thing we got to do, get that upper shroud out of the way. Those are going to be 10mm bolts. They're stuck in there pretty good. And out comes the clutch fan. Wiggle this up out of there. There we go. The water pump is just pouring out of that weep hole right there. Yeah, that water pump was bad when he parked it. A lot of play in that. But that's what we're here for. Make things like this happen. There we go. There we go. Now she's off. All right. leaky water pump out of here. Okay, water pump is in. You can't see it real well, but there it is. Getting pretty dark outside, it's getting hard to see. All right, let that gurgle down for a minute. I think we're ready to make noises. Let's see if it will do just that. I had it running once, but only for a few seconds. Look at that. Thing starts up like it's been a daily driver. For a 14-year-long nap, this thing's just gonna fire right up and run for me. A little smoky from me handling it. It does have twice pipes on it. We've got reverse. We've got a transmission. That's really good news. Good morning. Welcome back. This should be the final day of this revival. Everything is done except for the spark plug wires, cap rotor, and I've got to change oil in it, and I've got to make sure that the coolant is up to snuff. And if all goes well, hopefully we'll be taking a little test drive today. So let's dig in, get this thing started here. The oil dumped out of it, filter changed, radiator looked at. An interesting discovery that I just made is I had to pull the PCV valve out of this thing to put oil in it because these Edelbrock valve covers don't have an oil cap on them. Fantastic design. Yeah, 2 quarts in the engine, 3 on the ground. That'll work real nice. It's got plenty in it. All right. Okay, well, the radiator's not going to happen today, so I'm going to go ahead, put the rest of it back together, see if we can at least get this thing to pull itself out of its resting place. We'll just have to keep a close eye on it and make sure we don't get it hot. But this car needs to take a cruise today, even if it is a short one. Well, the restaurant's only a couple of blocks away, so this old buggy's going to take me to breakfast this morning. Gas is a little hazy, but it doesn't look terrible. I would imagine once you start pumping clean fuel through it, it'll probably run a bazillion times better. So let's fire this thing back up and see what happens here. Like nothing ever happened. Well, let's see if this thing will move. Yeah, the transmission is a little slippy, so better take a second, check the fluid level in that. But it moved. It's got good brakes. I'm not mad about that. Yeah, definitely needs some transmission fluid put in it. That's going to look sharp. Get the center caps and beauty rings on there. All right, let's poke this thing out on the road, see what happens. Not too bad. It doesn't seem to care much for this old gas, but you get some fresh gas put on top of it, it'll come back. Not very many. All right, let's throw some 91 non-ethanol in this thing, see what happens. All right. Got some fresh 91 octane in her. Let's see if she behaves herself. Gas gauge actually works. Yeah, whilst we're out and about, I'm going to stop and pick up another fuel filter for it. All right. First test drive is in, and it ran terrible. So we're going to dig into
Okay, that's going to do it for this video. The car runs, drives, stops, and steers, which ultimately was the goal here. It does those. The carburetor needs to be rebuilt, and a carburetor kit for it is a couple of days out. Nobody had one. So we're just going to wrap this up for now. Call it a win. I know this car will run good once it's got a good carburetor on it. It idles fantastic. It just doesn't like to accelerate. The accelerator pump is shot, and I'm sure the carburetor is just full of all kinds of good stuff. So we're going to wrap this up. We'll get the carburetor rebuilt at a later time, and maybe we'll revisit this car. I'm sure Jeff's got a lot of things he wants to do to it, and I would be absolutely thrilled to help him do these things to it. This one was a lot of fun, and I'm hoping that he and his family get a lot of use and fun out of this whole ride. Got a fantastic story behind it, and I was proud to be a part of it. Thanks again for watching. Sure do appreciate it. Until next time.